Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Gaming in Europe webinar. My name is Willem van Oort. In today's webinar, we will explore how advertisers of illegal gambling services abuse search engine algorithms and also social media advertisers to boost their own visibility and simultaneously manage to decrease the visibility of licensed offers. Due to the growing dominance of big tech in online spaces, search engine and social media advertising have become increasingly significant use for players to identify and find the iGaming operator that meets their needs. Naturally, illegal operators are fully aware of this. Thus, they have developed specific ways to manipulate search results and show their ads through social media platforms. Today, and in line with our mission, Reclaim the Market, we will not only look at how illegal advertisers boost their online presence, but also what legal and licensed operators can do to create greater visibility for licensed offers. But before we continue with today's webinar, I would like to thank our strategic partners and sponsors. Thank you all very much for your generous support. We would not have been able to do this without you. And we're listing here Holland, Spain, Germany, and Finland sponsors. Thank you very much. And as always, our webinars are interactive. If you would like to submit a question to one of our speakers, you can do so through Slido. You can also upvote other people's questions there. To use Slido, please scan the QR code on your screen or visit slido.com. Next, enter the event code that's hashtag GIEU. That's hashtag GIEU. And finally, select the Q&A tab on the top of your screen. And as I said, you can also upvote other people's questions there. Questions will be addressed and, if possible, if time permits, be answered during the Q&A at the end of this webinar. And today we have 4 expert speakers, excellent expert speakers on board here. First of all, Timothy Malros-Genach, who is widely recognized SEO expert and the owner of Magenti Media. There's Dr. Andreas Dietsche, the CEO of leading affiliate service provider iGaming.com. Frank Opdewoerd, editor-in-chief of Casino News, a leading affiliate website in the Netherlands. And Maarten Haijer, who is the Secretary General of the European Gaming and Betting Association in Brussels. Welcome, and thank you very much for taking the time to be here. Welcome. Our first speaker today is Timothy. Timothy, welcome, Timothy, and thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Happy to have you. Quick question to get us going, Timothy. What do you think is the main avenue for players to find illegal offers?
Google. Easy. Or maybe streamers too.
All roads lead to Google and to streamers. Exactly. So, and then let's get a little bit more into detail for that. How do these illegal affiliates rank so high in Google search?
Well, the method used now is the canonical trick, as I call it. You find an old expired domain with high authority, whatever that means, and then you pump it full of bad links. And you make it work, rank a little bit. And when it dies, eventually it all dies, you use a canonical to a fresh domain, and then Google forgets about the penalty for a week or two. And once that dies, repeat indefinitely. This is the main method now to rank fast that I've seen, even stronger than parasite SEO.
Wow. Wow, that's quite interesting. So, expired domains, how exactly are these being abused, Timothy?
Exactly like I said, it's just, it seems like maybe 5% of the ones bought work, not all work. I don't know why. But I've seen, like in the Netherlands, it was an old church restoration domain. In the US, I've seen an old psychology clinic. It seems like subjects like healthcare or aid sites. I've seen a lot in the UK, horrible ones. Roadpeace.org, that's a terrible one. It's an old road victim charity. That works for some reason. So these are being used. They have trust in Google. The old owner didn't renew them. The new person buys them and then pushes a lot of exact anchor keywords like what is it in Dutch? Casinos on the hooks, maybe. And for some reason, Google is allowing this to work, while it shouldn't, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we saw this morning on LinkedIn an article of a Dutch celebrity where that happened to actually today. So very
It's every
real,
market.
yeah, very real threat here. So final question, Timothy, what do you think regulators can do against these type of abuses?
Well, you can't really stop the black market. You can make the risk not worth the reward by going after them. Or you can make your product better, because as soon as you regulate, there's too many regulations on how to play. Like myself, I would never play a regulated casino because there's no benefit for me. I'm a massive, or used to be a massive bonus abuser. So I would go for the illegal casinos right away because it's a better product. So make your product better, or attack, like seriously attack and fine whoever is doing all of these sites. That's the only way as I see it.
Okay, well, we get back to that at the panel discussion later on. Thank you very much. Very interesting, Timothy. Thank you for sharing this. We'll see you in a bit at the group question. Just to remind everybody, you can still go to Slido, ask questions to Timothy, use the QR code on the screen or slido.com, and code #GIEU. And then use the Q&A tab on top of the screen to submit or upvote somebody else's question. Timothy, see you in a bit. And welcome, Frank. Frank, how are you?
All good. How are you?
That's good. I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, Frank. As I already mentioned, Frank is the editor-in-chief of the Netherlands' leading affiliate, one of the Netherlands' leading affiliate websites. We all know who you are, Frank. As such, he undoubtedly has unique insights into how illegal affiliate marketing is affecting the industry. Frank, first question to you is, do you find it hard to compete against illegal affiliates?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, some of these illegal affiliates, or a lot of them, and definitely the network that we're all talking about all the time, they're really good at SEO. I mean, they're some of the best, to be honest. But the real problem is that, like Timothy said, is that legal affiliates and illegal affiliates are not competing under the same conditions. It's not a level playing field for all of us. Like in a regulated market like the Netherlands, legal affiliates like myself and some of the others, we operate within clear boundaries, right? So we have restrictions imposed on us by both the regulator and the licensed operators that are our partners. And these restrictions are there for good reason. They exist to protect the consumers, reduce harm, and ensure market remains accountable. And I'm all for it. But they do create an asymmetry because these illegal operators, they have far fewer restrictions. They do not face the same constraints, and they do not bound by the same standards, right? So they do not have to worry about maintaining a KVH seal of approval or good standing with a regulator. Quite the opposite, actually. They do not have to worry about their reputation because, like Timothy said, they hop from domain to domain, and it's a whole different game. And that already makes competing with them difficult. But then there's an even more important thing, I feel. Illegal affiliates are able to promote what some consumers perceive as a better product, like Timothy said already. So if you're looking for the best product, sometimes, and to some people, these illegal sites, they offer a better product. Like bigger bonuses, rakeback, fewer restrictions, fewer checks, less friction when you sign up. And so that makes it an easier job for these affiliates to promote these websites, because to some consumers it's just a better product, and it's a very hard thing for me to admit because I don't promote these websites. But yeah, it is what it is. So that means the competition is no longer mainly about who ranks first for these broad search terms like online casino Netherlands, or new online casino. I mean, there's a whole battle going on for searches like illegal online casino, casinos without crooks, like Timothy said. And that's like a battleground I don't even compete on because I don't want to rank, or I don't have a product to push for people who are looking for those who are searching for that. So that makes it very, very tricky. That's also part of the reason why we launched casinozondercrux.com and .nl and casinozondervergunning.com and .nl. That was obviously not to compete with them, because we don't really push an illegal online casino. Of course, we try to explain a little bit why it's a bad idea to play with these websites, but it's a very much an uphill battle, to be honest. It's just not a level playing field.
Yeah, well, keep it going, Frank. Frank, a second question to you here, following what Timothy said as well. Apart from SEO and keyword-related competition, what other kinds of competition do you, as an affiliate, experience?
Okay, yeah. So I'm trying not to be too pessimistic in life, but there's a lot of stuff going on. I got into this game because I enjoyed trying to rank the SEO game. I very much enjoyed when we started 15 years ago or whatever it was, when I was still doing poker things. So there's a tendency to think only in terms of search rankings, keywords, positions, traffic. But Timothy already spoke in more detail about some of these things online, especially on his LinkedIn. And I know Ivana Flynn is on LinkedIn writing about, but I can explain a little bit what's going on. So these canonicals, href abuse, other manipulative techniques, parasite SEO, it's all very interesting. Obviously, it's something that we don't do or want to do, but there's a lot more. There's even a much darker layer beyond that, I feel. So apart from these manipulative SEO tactics, we see something that I would describe as hostile conduct, or even harassment, if you will, conduct that goes far beyond gaming Google system, which is already unethical at times or unlawful at times. But I mean, we have to endure DDoS attacks. We had a pretty big one, I think, a couple months ago. That means they're trying to overflood our domains, our websites, and obviously we can combat that with Cloudflare. But it all costs a lot of money and effort, and it makes for a lot of headaches. I think a lot of the people that are following this subject know about the DMCA complaints. Obviously, there's also remedies for that, but it also takes effort, time. Especially when it first hit, it took a lot of time here in our office to understand what was going on. Why wasn't Google displaying our pages and whatnot, and what we could do about it. It includes endless complaints with our hosting provider and Cloudflare. So they're sending them letters that we are we stole our content, or it's illegal content. Obviously, we don't, it isn't, but we have to convince our hosting partner and in Cloudflare and whatnot. And then to top it all off, we have legal letters that are on our doormats, basically. And I mean, effectively, it's these slap cases, right? Strategic lawsuits against public participation. It's something that I've learned about only a year and a half ago, but it's basically, I mean, they have no legal basis, but you have to defend against it. You have to get a lawyer involved and whatnot. It's just one massive headache. So when someone escalates to these DDoS attacks, malicious takedown notices, false reporting and whatnot, yeah, I mean, that's not just aggressive marketing. It's not a fair battle between SEO wits, trying to rank as high as possible and whatnot. This goes much further. If you ask me, this is something that I didn't encounter when I started 15 years ago, but now it really escalated. And I feel that like legal publishers like myself, we are especially vulnerable because we are very visible. We have a hosting provider, we have partners, editors, business relations. We are on LinkedIn, and everyone knows who we are and where we're based and who our hosting provider is and whatnot. Because obviously Google has said that you need to be as transparent as possible if you want to build your brand and whatnot. It's very good SEO practices, but some of them or all of them are working against us because now we're very visible, I feel. And yeah, there's also another dimension to it, and that's really deceptive, where illegal actors are not just trying to outrank us like these legitimate websites like mine, but they often try to mimic trust. A couple months ago, we came across a whole website that looked like casinonews.nl, where they copied our logo, copied our content, copied photos and whatnot, and eventually we even got copyright strikes on content, the photos that we use legitimately, because the photo distributor thought that we were hosting their website and we didn't pay the right licensee fees. So it's all just one big massive headache, and it sometimes it takes the fun out of it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, we're still here, and that's why I also feel that there's a responsibility for these for the regulator, but Google, Meta. I mean, we're probably going to talk about that a little bit as well, because I feel there's, especially on Google, but also on Meta, and there should be more of a we should be taken care of more by everyone that believes in the legal system.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, well, we get maybe some news about that later. Frank, last question to you, similar to Timothy's last question. How can the impact of illegal affiliates be minimized, you think?
Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I have a 5-step plan, to be honest. So first of all, I think, like what Timothy said, the legal market needs to be visible enough and attractive enough, right? So I can go at length on what makes an attractive market, but I think Timothy already talked about it very clearly. You need to have an attractive offer, and so that is especially relevant in markets where restrictions on legal advertising and promotion have tightened significantly, like the Dutch market for the last couple of years. Every single restriction was put into place with good intentions, I feel, but if you're looking back and now we have restriction on restriction and restriction, it's a very tough market. It's very tough to compete with the illegal market. So I guess that goes into the first thing we talked about. Second, the responsible legal affiliates should be seen as part of the solution, I feel. Sometimes still affiliates are treated only as a commercial extension of these operators, of these legal operators. But I feel that responsible affiliates play an important role in this channelization and consumer protection, because we can explain the regulated market and we can compare these legal operators and we can warn consumers about illegal offers, right? So the third, if you're asking me, government and licensed operators could do more to strengthen the legal affiliate ecosystem. If policymakers and operators generally want consumers to end up in a legal environment, so high channelization rate, then you should not ignore the actors who help users navigate that legal market. Basically, it goes on for my second part, but trustworthy legal affiliates can be recognized more openly, linked to more often, cited more visibly. Some of them, the legal operators in the Netherlands, are already doing that. We introduced a badge with our rating, and they're displaying that on our website, on their website. That helps their trust, but it also helps our visibility, and so that makes us rank higher more easily. Fourth, obviously, you can't forget about against these illegal infrastructure. I mean, sometimes it seems hopeless and a very tough battle, but you can't stop it. I feel you should still be very much on top of that. So these illegal affiliates, they do not operate in isolation. They depend on hosting, domains, monetization, traffic channels, because sometimes they use obviously social media and whatnot, and they have supporting service providers. So there is a pressure point there, even if you don't know who exactly the illegal affiliate is. There's a way to try to make their life as hard as possible. And yeah, like I said earlier, and this is my fifth bit, it's Google itself. It needs to wake up. It's a very tricky subject for us people with websites to talk about, because obviously Google, there's a lot. It's a bit of a flawed product, but it's also the ones that are still delivering us the most traffic. So it's a tough relationship. But I mean, for years Google has said the right things about spam, manipulation, black hat tactics. It has published guidelines, policy, repeated warnings, and whatnot. But the uncomfortable reality is that a lot of these techniques that have been around for well over 15 years, they still seem to work extremely well. I mean, something as basic as, like Timothy talked about, a drop domain. I mean, this is something that I read about 15 years ago, and everyone would think, that this is, it's like ancient stuff. This doesn't work anymore. Well, it works. We had a spam update of Google 2 weeks ago. Okay, I was excited for it. Now here we go, the spam update, and the end result is these spam links, these illegal operators of the illegal affiliates, they rank higher than ever. So that creates a little bit of a credibility problem, if you're asking me. So because when Google says certain behavior is not allowed, but in practice, the behavior delivers results at scale, then the bad actors will keep using it. Of course. I mean, if I wasn't focused on the legal market and in good standing with the regulator, and if I had maybe a little bit of a different ethical compass, I would try that game as well because it's so profitable. So as long as that keeps in place, I mean, people will keep doing it. So part of the solution is Google needs to enforce its own rules much more effectively. If these black hat tactics keep working like crazy, like I always say, despite public discouragement, the message to the market is very simple. The risk is low and the reward is high because after, like Timothy said, after 2 weeks, the domain will disappear, but it's just as easy to get the new domain and the new stuff going up. So, I mean, as long as that remains true, illegal affiliates will continue to exploit that gap, I feel.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. Google
following their whole mouthful, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. No, quite interesting, Frank. Google following their own rules. Maybe we can get some more out of that later. Thank you very much.
One day.
We'll see you at the end of the session with the panel questions. So thank you very much. Welcoming Andreas Ditsche here. How are you, Andreas?
Life is good. A rainy day in Germany. Good time to be on a webinar.
Exactly. As I said, Andreas Ditsche, who is the CEO of leading affiliate platform iGaming.com. Again, thank you and welcome for participating here. Following up what Frank said, Andreas, how has legal affiliate marketing changed in the past few years?
It has changed dramatically. It hasn't just evolved, it has been redefined. And I'd like to give it a little bit of a structure by pointing out 3 hard shifts that we see. So the first one is we moved from growth to compliance. So in the past, it was about scaling traffic fast, and now it's super important to stay legal while doing it. And what regulators do across Europe, they treat affiliates as fully accountable advertisers. So we are kind of law enforcement, put it that way. And we are the last step before someone jumps to an operator. So I do understand why they put emphasis on it. The second point is we move from scale to fragmentation. So what worked in one country used to work everywhere, and that's over. Europe is now a patchwork of completely different legal systems, from liberal markets to near total ad bans. And you don't scale by copying anymore. You scale by adapting market by market. That's a very different game. And the third point is we move from conversion to responsibility. So the old KPI was simple, acquire players. Now the expectation is bigger. We channel players into the legal, safer ecosystem responsibly. If we don't do it, we are out of the game. And if I put that in a sentence or two, 5 years ago, we optimized for clicks. Today, we optimize for trust.
So compliance, fragmentation, and trust here. Very interesting point of view here. Second question to you then, following on this, Andreas, why do you think that illegal affiliate marketing is effective? For what kind of audience?
I have thought how I talk about that, and I decided I answer that with a simple and extreme example. The answer to the question is because Google delivers what the user is looking for. We have a huge search volume in my country for casino without limit, casino without Oasis or Lugas, these are our protection tools, or casino without tax. So this is everything that I heard Timothy's words, makes it a bit less attractive for the ambitious player. And when you look at search results for such terms, there's not a single legal search result in the top 10.
Wow.
Why not? Even if, as an affiliate, you are able to draw someone on your domain, you cannot hint him to the product that that person wants. So you have to tell them, yeah, you are on our landing page. We can offer you fantastic legal offerings, but not what you are searching for. The result is the person bounces back. And an immediate bounce back is not a good idea when you optimize for Google search.
No.
So I think you are in a vicious circle. And so the second part of the question, for what kind of audience? I think for the audience that everyone is looking for, that's the high rollers who spend a lot of money. They don't find their product offering in the legal market. And for them, the illegal affiliate marketing can offer what they want in the illegal market, which is a criminal offense in some countries, but this is why it works.
So Google gives the players what it's want. Either way, very interesting. Andreas, final question to you. What can you do? What can legal affiliates do to stay relevant in this environment?
We must stop thinking the way we think. So we used to be seeing ourselves as traffic brokers, but we have to start acting like trusted intermediaries. That's a very different game. So for years, our model was super simple: rank, compare, redirect, done. And this model is under pressure from two sides. On one side, AI reduces clicks. So when you have an AI search results, in 8 out of 10 cases, there is not a single click, no scroll, nothing. And on the other side, we have illegal and aggressive actors that dominate the transactional SERPs. So that's super difficult for legal players. So what do we have to do? We must build a brand, not just pages. So if users don't actually seek us out, we are replaceable. We are replaceable by Google, by AI, or by a black market competitor. So the second point is we must own trust, not just ranking. The third point is we must create experience, not just comparisons. And the fourth point, in my opinion, is we must diversify beyond Google. We cannot only depend on one algorithm. So let me coin it like that. If you do that, you don't have a strategy, you have a dependency, and that's super dangerous for your business. And if I have to summarize that, I would say in the future, a legal affiliate, a good legal affiliate, is not the one with the best SEO. It is the most trusted, recognizable, and useful brand on a player's journey. Otherwise, we will not stay relevant.
Yeah, very interesting positioning and looking at the future, Andreas. Thank you very much. We'll be with you in a few minutes again for the last round of questions, but thank you for now. Moving on to our final speaker of today, Maarten Haijer, who is Secretary General of the European Gaming and Betting Association, which represents the industry's interest in Brussels. Welcome, Maarten. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Willem.
Great. And thank you for being here today. Question to you, after already what you've heard from the other participants, Maarten, what can you tell us about the latest legislative developments aimed at restricting illegal online advertising for iGaming, of course?
So, I mean, thanks for inviting me. I think there are several very interesting developments ongoing. So, and mostly in relation to big tech, but also in relation to to advertising. So, as you might or might not know, the European Commission and the EU institutions are very closely looking at the behavior of big platforms.
Yeah.
And there's a new piece of legislation, horizontal piece of legislation, is expected by the end of the year, which is really focused on platforms, including Google and Meta, which is, I think, an interesting, very interesting development that is in the near future. At the same time, I also think that the most recent rulings in the US on or against Google and Meta on their liability for the products that they create and that they found guilty for having the way that they design their products will be extremely influential, not just in the US, but also in Europe and elsewhere in the world. And I think that is, so far, I think big tech has been able, based on the arguments of freedom of information, freedom of speech, to shy away of most of the responsibility of what the content is that they display online. I think with these most recent rulings, it's been very clear, made very clear by, of course, the court, but I think partly societal pressure, is that there is a liability on big tech for what they show online and how they act in the public domain. And that, I think, will have a real impact on the way that they will behave, not just in the US, but also in Europe and elsewhere. And so that will be a very important new development and pressure, I think, on big tech to be more attentive to arguments that, like Frank and Andreas and Timothy have said before, these arguments have been made before about illegality and criminal behavior potentially as well. I think the new developments in the US make big tech much more sensitive to pressure along those lines. So that's one area, very importantly. And then secondly, as I said before, the European Commission, it is expected there will be new legislation, online legislation around the online services that would include also gambling services, where they will be covered by it. In terms of consumer protection, and those are the areas, I mean, first and foremost, minor protection, but also the way that products are designed, the role of influencers, advertising in general, accessibility. So that's new legislation that's expected by the end of the year, a proposal. I think those two developments together will make, I think, a big impact on how big tech will move forward in the future, also on issues like affiliate advertising. Obviously, still a lot of money to be made with advertising and affiliate advertising. So I think that's the opposing pressure that will not go away that easily. But I do think these two things are game changers in the way that big tech is behaving and will be behaving.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing this here out in this webinar today, Maarten. But of course, time will tell. Maarten, what is the EGBA doing right now to limit the online visibility of unlicensed gambling operators?
That is a good question. It's a high priority. It's evident that in all the European jurisdictions, the black market is growing. Our members, but also our non-members that are licensed and regulated, have a very hard time in competing with the unregulated offer. And so it has really become a top priority. What we are doing at the moment is we are speaking with big tech on precisely these issues and their responsibility in addressing these concerns. We're also gathering evidence in the extent to which this is happening. I mean, we have a new member, recently member, Tipico, that has done some very interesting work in Germany. But we ourselves are also doing mystery shopping in different jurisdictions to get a better understanding, but also provide evidence about how these practices turn out in real life and what effect it has on minors, potentially on KYC, and on all the behaviors that regulated operators are not allowed to do, but with unregulated operators that are then heavily advertised and are much better positioned to increase their market share. What the effect of that is on society and on the citizens. So that is an ongoing business. or ongoing work stream that we are working at, and not that simple. The good thing, I think, is that it is a massive attention now as well of regulators. So it's not just the industry. We're speaking with regulators as well across Europe, who have a huge interest in this as well. And we feel that working together, we are hopefully making differences in putting this more prominently on the agenda of big tech, and also putting pressure on them to take the legality of an offer more into account, and especially around advertising, which is hugely important for the competition between regulated and unregulated operators in Europe.
Yeah, okay. Well, the attention is definitely here today. I think we also have 255 people signed up for this webinar, some of the regulatory agencies. So let's keep that efforts going, and let's hope your efforts pay off well, Maarten. Thank you for this, Maarten. Please stay here, and let's invite the other panelists back to the room here. A question for everybody here. So now that we've heard from various stakeholders, let's see if we can get a little debate going between all of us. And thank you for having for being patient here. So, looking at all of you here, what further steps would you recommend for keeping the black market in check? Any takers for as first? Timothy.
Here we go. Every regulator should hire somebody from the iGaming industry with SEO experience. And then they should, like I've seen, Netherlands is actually one of the ones that have gone after illegal affiliates, the best, I think, successfully. Every market needs to do this. And they need to make the risk higher than the reward and really hit them. This is the way to limit it. You can't stop it. But going after the affiliates will significantly limit the market.
Okay, that's a good recommendation. So
because going after Google, that's the long game. The short game is targeting these and the casinos and the affiliates. But it needs technical expertise, because I don't think a regulator can find canonicals, right? It's so new old SEO that they need to learn it, basically. And there's new strategies evolving all the time.
Yeah, of course.
As well.
So work with the experts, and in the Netherlands, well, let's bring that as an export thing, and maybe you can help to that. Frank, maybe you want to find it as a bridge, or Andreas, Maarten? So...
I can only add to that and underline that that's 100% true. A lot of the regulators, they don't understand exactly what's going on. Even if they see a website promoting illegal content, it's still in their minds that someone's going into their browser and looking at that website and oh my god, no, that's not the game. It's the link building. It's the building authority on other domains and whatnot. So I mean, as long as they don't understand exactly what's going on, then they can never limit it or put enforcements into place. So yeah, they need a lot more technical SEO knowledge, but also just general knowledge of how the industry works or how online marketing works, I guess, in general. So that's a good point Timothy makes.
So I would like to make another point. In my opinion, you need to choose your opponents and your battles wisely. So when we regulate the affiliates, for example, we regulate how we advertise. But it's equally important to figure out what we advertise. If you advertise a product that is not appealing to many, the affiliate is only one aspect how you can channel and direct. But if some players do not find what they want in the legal market, they will go to the black market. I'm pretty convinced. I think it's a fine line. So saying we cannot stop them anyhow, then we could give up all regulation. But I think you need to find a balance between repression and an attractive product that you allow.
Yeah, so not only the how, but also the what. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think from our perspective as well, this is about causing friction, as much friction as possible for consumers to play with illegal operators, but also for illegal operators to be positioning themselves. So that is very obvious. I mean, till not too long ago, we did say, the black market, you never can eradicate it completely. But as long as we have a sufficiently large regulated market, it's fine. I think that really has changed. I think the black market is now so prominent and so dominant also in some jurisdictions. It's the majority of the market is now illegal operators. That argument doesn't float anymore. So there is a need to be much more aggressive. I do want to kind of take position of regulators into account as well. They don't have an easy position either, because regulation usually is put on them as well by the legislator, and they need to act within the possibilities that they have. So I do think there's education that needs to be done to the legislator, that layer upon layer of restrictions, advertising and otherwise, will have a long-term effect to the detriment of the regulated environment. I think that clearly is a concern where I think the regulators and the industry should be hopefully working more together, because I think we have a shared interest that the regulated market functions better than it does now. And then just a final point in terms of friction, there's also other areas that we need to be looking at, and that's payment services and that, but beyond the scope of this discussion, but clearly there's friction to be caused there as well.
Maarten, let me jump quickly in, and sorry, Frank. I think this joint common interest is already a political question. Imagine we manage to channel many, many players back into the legal market. What will be the perception of the public? So if I put myself in the shoes of a politician, the impression of the public could be, wow, gambling goes up, because what is in the illegal market is a little bit unseen in the dark. But imagine the tax income from gambling suddenly doubles. That's visible. And we are all operating in a niche. But does the public then understand that people moved back into the legal market, or is the perception, well, more people gamble? I think it's even tricky to manage that as a politician and a regulator.
Yeah, well, I'm happy if we have to deal with that problem, to be honest, because
so am I, Frank.
But I want to make the numbers of the Dutch market that there's no increased gambling spend in the Netherlands in the last 12 months. So there we go.
Yeah. I want to make one last point, because you asked Timothy first, like, okay, how do people end up at the illegal market? He said one word, Google. So, I mean, and you asked Maarten, what are you doing in Brussels? He said, we're talking to big tech. I mean, everyone is talking with big tech. Our regulator is talking with big tech. The EGBA is talking. But why are we constantly talking with these people instead of, taking real action? Because if I make 100,000 euros a year on illegal markets, then the regulator would impose hefty fines on me and whatnot. But Google, Meta, TikTok, and a lot of the others, they are making billions, literally, supplying these illegal operators, really. So, yeah, to me, it sounds like we shouldn't be talking to them. We should be having real action on these big players, because they are the biggest winners. Obviously, the illegal operators, they make a lot of money. The illegal affiliates make a lot of money, but it's peanuts compared to what Google makes on illegal gambling in the world. What Meta makes on illegal gambling in this world. So
apart from all of this, money talks.
Yeah.
But that's why I think that the rulings in the US are so important, because that's the first time where genuinely there's been a court ruling saying that they are liable for, in this case, the way that they devise their and set up their products. But that is where enforcement really starts to count. And one of the things that the Commission wants to do in future is to be enforcing consumer law as well. And I think the advantage of European Commission doing that over national, local national enforcement is that Google and Big Tech and Meta are huge companies. They're almost out of the realm of democratic control. And so it'd be good if you would have a larger entity being able to enforce there as well. It's simple to say there needs to be action, but these are massive companies. They make massive amounts of money. They have massively good lawyers. And that's why I do think that the recent the recent rulings in the US will make a big difference in going forward.
Isn't there a role for someone like the EGBA to take on the gauntlet as well? Because obviously, independent operators, even those that are operating globally, they don't want to sue Google or Facebook or whatever. But like an overarching body like EGBA or any other body that we have in this world, they can take up the gauntlet and take it to them. No.
Yeah, no, that's Timothy. Sorry, yeah, it's work in progress. That's as much as I can say about it.
Let's keep the discussion for another webinar. Timothy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a simple solution to limit the black market by X amount of percent. Let's say 50%. Have the regulator DMCA strike the domains. That's it. If you find the source domain, you DMCA strike it, it gets de-indexed in Google. And they can never counterclaim because then they end up revealing who they are and they go to court. So it's never happening. And anyone can DMCA strike, but when it comes from the KSA or Swedish authorities or German, they can't counterclaim it because it's a legit DMCA strike. This would limit the entire market in days. Yeah. You could do it tomorrow. You would clean up the entire SERP. Until the next wave of domains come. But finding these unique domains that have so much trust is hard. It's very hard. Like I said, maybe 4 or 5% work. If you keep hitting them, it's not worth it anymore.
Interesting thought. Let's chew on that further. Anything else to add? If not, we go to the audience question. I think we heard all your points of view, and I think they're all valuable. And I guess if we do the same webinar in a year, we could see some progress in some of the areas. Let's move to the audience Q&A. So I think we had some questions coming in. I think we're looking at 3, potentially 4 questions. The first question out of Slido here, and I'm looking at all of you here. How organized are illegal advertisers / affiliates? This sounds like a very well organized operation. Without calling out any names, anybody wants to say something here?
Yeah, I mean, they are well organized. Obviously, this is a multi-million dollar business. These are not people in their little bedroom behind their laptop. These are big companies with employees, Slack channels, and whatnot. They have expert SEO people on their payroll. I mean, they have like corporate offices, they have a LinkedIn page. So yeah, they are well organized because there's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah, so organized crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Timothy, Andreas, Maarten?
I kind of agree to Frank. The 1-2 person garage firm that conquers the world of affiliation. At the same time, I would say it's fragmented. So as a medium-sized, small organization, you can be successful. Others are big, and I think it's a wide field, and there are many of them. I would not say it's one company that dominates everything. That's definitely not the case.
But it's not small. It's then even if it's fragmented, it's significant.
Yeah.
And there's people, money flows, entities. So, yeah. Timothy, Maarten, anything to add? Great. Let's go to the next audience question here. So, and thanks everybody for contributing to this. What about search results with the new SEO GPT methods? By Gemini, etc., new methods. I think you mentioned something in one of your answers, Andreas. Somebody else wants to add to that, or?
I can even elaborate a little bit further.
Yeah.
I think you can assess the situation with common sense. So if you use an AI search and you search for the best casino, the answer will be the best casino. The AI search will not direct you to a comparison page of an affiliate. So I think that's the new game that you have to figure out how you survive that. And I gave some hints. On the other hand, for the most part, AI search results do not trigger reactions. So the conversion rates, I would say, are still a bit weak compared to a Google search that leads you to an affiliate website.
I mean, there's some rules imposed on these AI models, these large language models. So when really ChatGPT and Gemini first hit, so we tested all of them. We asked what is the best casino without crocs, and all of them, without exception, told us you shouldn't be playing without crocs and whatnot. So there were guidelines obviously imposed, and now I saw someone did an update on basically similar research, and it was already kind of weakening. Obviously, like we are trying to do SEO, there's people very much involved in trying to rank as high within these LLMs. And some of them are it's working. So yeah, we are not really, to be honest, focused on that because we still get the far majority of our traffic from the traditional search, and we see, like Andreas said, these transactional queries, they don't really happen in the LLM so far. But yeah, it's definitely a problem of the future, of the near future, actually. I imagine if we're talking about it again in a year, it's going to be a little bit of a different situation.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I think we have 2 more questions, and if we do that efficiently. Third question here: in the event that these illegal affiliate websites use apps that misappropriate the brand of a real casino, what actions can we take against Google? What legal steps? Somebody in this group have expertise with that?
Yeah, no, they are required to take them down, obviously for IP rights. So I think that's pretty much settled case law, and then they are, I think, relatively good at taking them down. But yeah, no, that is a clear legal issue. They are required to take those down.
Is that quick, Maarten?
Sorry?
Is that quick?
Yeah, normally if an operator requests the takedown of an app or something similar, usually they're done pretty quickly. Yeah.
Okay. Could of course remain the advertising for it, but it's a step in the right direction. Let's go to the last question today here, so we stay within the hour here. In line with responsible gaming principles, how can we use warnings to help players avoid falling into the trap of illegal casinos? It's a big question. Any takers?
I mean,
I feel,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Well, I first want to preface maybe what you're going to say is that there's a difference between illegal operators and illegal operators. So there's like 15 years ago or 10 years ago, an illegal operator was someone literally from their basement running an illegal online casino, which was very untrustworthy. You know, you couldn't count on transactions to go through, cash outs to go through, the games were rigged sometimes and whatnot. So that was the traditional warning that we would give, like, play with the legal offer and not the illegal offer, because you're not sure you're going to get your money. But some of these illegal operators, like we talked about the illegal affiliates, they are multi-billion-dollar companies. They are, to be honest, trustworthy. And to be honest, they sometimes have a better product. So whatever we do or used to be doing, like pointing out the pitfalls, and not everything goes anymore, because some of these illegal operators they do have a good product, and they are going to let you allow to cash out once you hit big. So it's not a problem to worry about.
I think it's a matter of society, not a matter of only affiliates and people in the market. So as long as we go into the basement and lock the door to gamble, it's very difficult to communicate something like that. If we openly discuss matters like that, if gambling, responsible gambling, illegal gambling is something that is discussed in public, you can raise awareness. But when you do it in hiding, it's super challenging. And I would say the handle on that is not only in the industry.
No, I agree, and I think importantly as well, I think in this sector, like probably in other sectors as well, brand recognition is really important. And I think for a consumer, brand recognition is probably they're more aware of brands and whether someone has a license in a certain jurisdiction or not. And so the way to address that, I would say, and I don't think the average consumer is overly concerned about whether a company has a license. I mean, they are concerned, obviously, if they get paid out, if they want to, if they want to cash out. I think those are the areas where a consumer is most concerned and will be most worried about playing with an illegal operator if they're not sure they will get a cash out or payout. So I think friction there probably is more around the payment side and about warning consumers whether they play on a licensed or unlicensed website. I think the average consumer is not knowledgeable, and secondly, probably doesn't care too much about that issue. I think getting your money is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Okay. Timothy, anything to add there as a last?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Great. I think there was some really interesting angles to this last question here. And I think with this, we've come to the end of this webinar. So I would like to thank Timothy, Frank, Andreas, and Maarten. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Appreciate it as always, and hope to see you in person soon. A link to a full recording of today's webinar will be shared in a post-webinar email that we'll be sending out as soon as possible, with the video, of course. As always, let's keep in touch. If you have not signed up for our newsletters yet, please do so at our website, www.gamingin.eu. Let's keep in touch and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.